It gives us great pleasure to welcome all of you for today's session. I'm sure it's going to be interesting, and I think the expectations of the members are more than likely to be met after the end of both the sessions today. I must, at this juncture, acknowledge the presence of Sri Prem Kumar Council Passport from the Consulate General Office from India, and Mr. Jitendra Negi, Council Labour. Thank you, sirs, for being here today. Acknowledge the presence of past presidents and other senior members here. And before we start today, I would like to introduce the first speaker of the day today. I don't want to start by asking how many of you are diabetic. I think we are all looking for solutions, including me. And it gives us great pleasure to welcome Dr. Biswaroop Roy Chowdhury. He is an internationally acclaimed Indian medical nutritionist, having a doctorate in diabetes from the Alliance International University, Zambia. Based on his research work published in Journal of Metabolic Syndrome and rich knowledge in the field of nutrition, he has developed a three-step protocol called the DIP diet, to reverse diabetes in just 72 hours. With a global presence, he is successfully running centers in India, Vietnam, and Malaysia. Dr. Chowdhury is a member of the editorial board of reputed international medical journals. He is also the chief editor of India Book of Records and Asia Book of Records, and has authored more than 25 books. May I now welcome Dr. Biswaroop Roy Chowdhury to start this session. Thank you, sir.
So, good evening, friends. It's my pleasure and honor to be here today. And as you can see, diabetes reversal in 72 hours, that is what I am going to tell you. It has been about 12 years since I have started this journey of curing people in 72 hours. लग रहा है आवाज़ थोड़ी गूंज रही है. Which one is? क्या ये आवाज़ ज़्यादा अच्छी है? या मेरे ख्याल से ये आवाज़ थोड़ी ज़्यादा अच्छी है. So, in 12 years, I have seen more than 20,000 patients directly. And if I talk of India, in India, the diabetes is about 8.8%, but most of them are fat, and diabetes type 1 is there, which is very high. And then about 6 years back, we opened a center in Vietnam. In Vietnam, the diabetes is little less prevalent, but 5.5%, but all of them are thin but diabetic. So 3 years back, we started a center in Malaysia. And Malaysia, two kind of people, fat diabetes and thin diabetes. The Malay people, thin diabetes. Indians settled there for one generation, fat diabetes. If I compare here, it is 15 point something kind of prevalence, right? Very similar to what it is in Malaysia. The truth is, whatever number of years you have spent as a diabetes patient, means on pills or on insulin, what you are going to see in next 1 hour, if you are able to do it, for about 85% of the people, within 3 days, you will be forced to stop the medicine or the insulin. If you don't do it, it will be hypoglycemic. This means even that is fatal. And about 15% or 10% of the people, they may still need little bit of medication, but not for long period. So, if you see what is diabetes, diabetes is not a disease. It is never classified as a disease. It just means high sugar in the blood. Why there should be a sugar in the blood? At this moment, you are able to listen to me. Most important, we are alive. This means millions of cells in our body, they all are alive, and to be alive, they need a constant supply of energy. And the sugar is number one primary supply of energy. So, sugar is good or bad? No sugar no life. So if you have sugar in the blood, blood as a transporter, it takes the sugar to each and every cell. Cell burns the sugar, and that is how we get energy, and that's how we are alive. Sugar is good. High sugar is good or bad? High sugar means more energy, isn't it? If doctor says your blood sugar is 500, my God, you are full of energy. Why it should be bad? This we need to understand. It's like this city, the transportation system of the city. Our blood vessel is like a transportation system, and blood is vehicle. It transports many things including food, oxygen, waste material, and sugar. If too many sugar is there in the transportation system, the whole transportation system will become slow. And if the transportation system of this city becomes slow, who will get affected? You all could come in time, but had it been in India, then the first half an hour of the training program, whenever I do, people keeps on pouring. So because the transportation system of the city is unpredictable, slow. So what sugar does, if excess sugar is there in the transportation system, it makes the system slow. Which organ will get affected? All the organs. Because each and every cell, they are waiting for food, for oxygen, for transportation of waste material. It is not happening at the right time. So kidney, heart, lungs, whatever organ you know, each one of them get affected. Which one will get affected first? Here comes what we call as genetics. But genetics comes only when high sugar in the blood. Right? So otherwise genetics is not meaningful. Only when the brain or body has to decide which illness should kill you, this means the excess sugar brain tends to throw on that organ for which your ancestors died. Let's say your ancestor died of heart disease, so chances are that excess sugar will get deposited in heart. So, but only if the sugar is in excess. So high sugar is not good, no doubt about it. But now the important thing is what we can do and what we are doing. We are taking pills, right? Doctor says high blood sugar. Okay, high. So you take the pills, and after taking the medication, you check your blood sugar. It is in range, in healthy range. What is healthy range? I'll come a little later, but it is in healthy range. Did you ever think about that excess sugar, where it went? Before taking medication, it was 500 or 400. After taking medication for a few days, now it started remaining in the range of 150, 160. So where the excess sugar went? Is it a magic? Do you think the medicine is able to throw the sugar from the blood out of the body? Is it what you are expecting from the medication? So first of all, you must know exactly that when I am taking the medicine, I am talking of blood sugar now, maybe after 5 minutes I will talk of blood pressure also. How it is able to reduce the blood sugar? If it is a blood pressure medicine, what exactly it is doing to reduce the blood pressure? And do I really want that? I'll give you one example to make you understand this. When you take a pill of blood sugar, what happens? How the blood sugar drops? And do you really want? That is, you have to decide. Okay. I have packed my luggage. Tomorrow is my flight. But I could not fit this and this also into the suitcase because it is almost full. Anybody who can help me fitting these two in the suitcase? Anybody? आप में से कोई भी आ सकता है? Who can help me fitting this and this inside the suitcase? कौन आएगा? Is it really difficult? Oh, okay, please. But okay, I need at least two people because it is two things and it needs a lot of force. Good evening. So your job is to put inside it. So this means you have to open it first and try to put inside it. Okay. Opening I can help. Turn off. On or off? On. On. Yeah. Okay. Now it's okay, right? So you're trying to put it inside. Okay.
Yes.
So put it inside. Yeah. Great. You have to put this also. Okay. Put it inside. He is able to put it inside. Now the idea is you have to chain it also. Okay. Try to observe him carefully, right? Good. Should I help you? Okay. Yes. Try hard. Good. Okay. So, finally he could make it. Yeah. You must give a clap. Thank you. So, I have a gift for you. At least you are brave enough to come on the stage. This is for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Finally, you could do it. But if I ask you that, okay, I have some more things to put inside, maybe somebody else will try and maybe he'll also be successful. So that's what happens when you take the medicine. When you take a sugar medicine, it takes the sugar out of the blood and it stuffs the sugar in some pocket of your body. Right? He chose to take one pocket and put the stuff. If I give some more material, somebody else will come and he will put it in some other pocket of the suitcase. So when you take the blood sugar medicine, the sugar, it goes out of the blood. Blood sugar reduces, but the body sugar remains same. So there is no instrument to calculate or to find out how much is the body sugar. So you are happy with that my blood sugar has reduced, but my body sugar is same. It is not same. Every day it is accumulating, right? So it will keep on accumulating, and one day what will happen, right? If I try to put some more thing, then maybe some of you will try and then say, no, now it is totally full and we cannot put it anything else in the suitcase. And that is what happens for each one of you sometime in your lifetime, each of the diabetes patient I'm talking about. Now when you go back to the doctor, what the next thing doctor suggests you? The medicine no more working. Doctor says now the medicine no more working, now you have to be on insulin. When you take insulin, your blood sugar drops very quickly. But what exactly happens when you take insulin? So when you take insulin, how the blood sugar drops? To understand this, just watch this 1 minute video. So this is your body, and those policemen, they are insulin. Just imagine that if you are in that kind of train, for a few hours it's okay, but if you have to be there for a few days, what will happen? It is suffocation. You will die because you will not be able to breathe. try to understand, insulin is more dangerous than high blood sugar. So that's what happens when you are taking insulin. Kidney failure, liver damage, heart attack, brain stroke, right? So you keep on stuffing the sugar and someday the bag will be totally out of shape, it will get torn. So that is what happens when you take the medication and especially when you take the insulin. This means if you are a diabetes patient, that means if you have high blood sugar, that is the easier thing. To reduce the blood sugar, this mechanism is not workable. It will not increase the length of your life. It will not decrease the symptoms at all. It will not decrease. The length of your lifespan remains the same or it becomes lesser. The symptoms, it will come quicker. The idea, the goal is not to achieve a number, the goal is to achieve a health, isn't it? Why you are taking medicine? It is not because you want to get certain number. You are taking medicine because you assume that particular number will give you health also. But the truth is, the new guideline says, new diabetes guideline, more medication, more illness, more mortality. I will show you the new guideline, more mortality. And it is not just of blood sugar. The blood pressure, the problem is the same. Let me ask you one question. In one question you will understand what is blood pressure and what not to do and what to do. High blood pressure leads to heart disease and risk of brain stroke, or risk of brain stroke and heart disease leads to high blood pressure. Which one seems to be more logical and true? First or second? First. This is what we heard. Oh, you have a high blood pressure, you have a risk of brain stroke, heart attack. So you don't want that, so take medicine, bring the blood pressure down. Okay, let's try to understand from a fresh, new perspective. Imagine it is a pipe, a flexible pipe. I fit the pipe on a tap. Switch on the tap, the water will flow. Water pressure. Now I squeeze the pipe from in between. Water pressure should increase or decrease? Yeah. Smaller is the diameter, higher is the pressure, water pressure. Now replace that as it is not a pipe, it is a artery. Instead of water, it is blood, liquid. What happens, especially near the heart, when the blood is flowing, because of the kind of lifestyle we have, there comes small blockages. As the blockage develops, the diameter decreases. As the diameter decreases, the blood pressure increases. So that blockage is known as heart disease. So it is not that high blood pressure is causing heart disease. It is just that heart disease, you have a heart disease, and as a result, it is reflected as a high blood pressure. Right? So if you read it again, high blood pressure leads to heart disease or heart disease leads to high blood pressure. So the more logical and true is the second one. Now when you are taking blood pressure medication, you get again a fancy acceptable blood pressure reading. Do you think that by taking medicine, the medicine is able to reduce that blockage? No, it doesn't do anything to that blockage, which is responsible for high blood pressure. Question is how the medicine is causing droppage of blood pressure. Only one way. It restricts the heart. It makes the heart weak slowly, and weak heart cannot put more pressure. So every time you are taking blood pressure medication, your blood pressure is reducing at the cost of making you more sick. Your heart becomes more sick, right? So more old. So that's why the blood pressure comes in range, but the blockage, it remains as it was before. So it does not change your chance of having heart attack or brain stroke, does not at all. Maybe it increases the chances of heart attack or brain stroke. Why? Because it makes the heart weak. Now at this point the question could be, if these medicines do not work the way as expected, then why these medicines are there in the market? Why the doctor prescribe, why government allow? There are so many research center, FDA is there, all kind of regulation is there. In spite of that, why it is happening? Very simple answer. I'll give you, spend 2-3 minutes in understanding this thing, the problem, and then rest of the time we'll spend in finding the solution. You'll not be able to appreciate the solution if you don't know what is the problem. So, I need a coin. Anybody having coin? Indian coin, any यहाँ का coin कोई भी चलेगा? किसी के पास भी है? किसी के पास भी? Yep. Thank you. Dirham. Let's say, I'll use this coin to explain why these medicines are there in the market, in spite of the fact, proven fact that these medicines do not contribute in your health. Rather, it makes you more sick. How the medicine comes in the market, how the medicine reaches you. Very simple. Every medicine to be in the market, it has to first being passed by FDA, Food and Drug Administration. Right? Not the one in India, FDA, there is FDA in India, it is the US FDA. Indian FDA, they just follow the US FDA, that's how it is. Here I don't know what are the rules, but all across the world, those who follow allopathic medicine, they follow US FDA. First, it has to be certified and passed by the FDA. So let's say you are FDA and I am pharmaceutical company and I come to you with a proposal. I have invented a coin and every time I toss the coin, I get a head. So please allow me to sell in the market. FDA will say first you prove it. You will say first prove it and then only we can allow. So do the medical trial. I go back, I toss it 100 times. What will happen? 50 times approximately I will get head and 50 times tail, the negative results. Out of 50 negative results, I will hide the 40 negative results and 60 results I will present to you, present to FDA. So you will look carefully each and every result, but only those 60 results, because you have an access to those 60 results only. And after scrutiny, after seeing it again and again, you come to the conclusion, yes, majority of the time it gives head with some minor side effects, it's okay. And finally it will come to the market. But when as a consumer you will take it, assuming that it will give you head, what will happen? 50% time it will not give it. Because in reality, it will not work the way as is promised. Now you as a consumer, you will complain to FDA. You must know FDA to do the scrutiny, it takes on average about 6 years to 18 years, right? So by the time FDA is doing its investigation, at least 6 years, what I am doing? I am doing business. It is still in the market. You are complaining, FDA is not clear about it, they are again trying to do the investigation, but the minimum time it takes is 6 years, maximum time 18 years sometime. Maybe after 10 years, FDA will come to the conclusion that this pharmaceutical company, this man, he was lying. What FDA will do at the most? It will ban the drug, number one, and lot of penalty. But the amount of penalty which they will pose on me is a fraction of what I have already earned. And it is not the story of one medicine I am talking about, it is a story of 50% of the medicine, if not 100%, 50%. And it is already documented. If you want to know more about it, you alltrials.net. This mission was started about 3 years back by British Medical Journal Group. British Medical Journal, you have heard, #1 journal in the world, very, very influential. So 4 years back, they could discover that these pharmaceutical companies, 50% of the, you see, half of all clinical trials never published. This is an official record. This is not assumption anymore now. It is officially accepted. All the evidence are there. And these are officially accepted records are put in alltrials.net for people like us to see. So, and they decided to expose one medicine every week through this alltrials.net. So maybe the kind of medicine which you are taking now, right, because one medicine every week, and in total there are about 15 major kind of drugs which is there in the chemist shop, which is in the market. So it may take few years before your drug is being scrutinized whether it should be exposed or not. So what I mean to say, we have a faith that there is a government organization, there are so many scientists, but the truth is that 50%, half of the trial are never published, and these are those half which gave the negative results. So now, having understood this, our main issue today should be, what should we do? What is the solution? Surely medicine is not the solution. How to achieve a good blood pressure, how to achieve the good blood sugar and also cholesterol, these three things comes together without taking these medicine. That is what we have to understand now, and that is your responsibility to understand. It is very simple also. Now let's start with blood pressure. Say, suddenly I see a snake here. What will happen? I'll be scared, I'll jump, my blood pressure will increase, and I'll be more alert, and I will try to protect myself. So at this point, if you check my blood pressure, it may be 200 by 100. Does that mean that I'm a high blood pressure patient? So it is a protective mechanism by the God. A zebra in a jungle, the moment it senses there is a tiger, the zebra becomes more alert. Blood pressure, pulse rate, heartbeat increases. The zebra is able to hear more clearly, able to see more clearly, is ready to fight or flight, running away, right? So that is possible only when the blood pressure increases. But does that mean it is a disease? Now what happens for most of you, the moment you go to the hospital, the moment you look at the doctor, your blood pressure increases. More expensive is the hospital, more is the blood pressure. Older is the doctor with most number of degree, higher is the blood pressure. And finally doctor checks your blood pressure, which obviously is on a higher side. Look, you have a high blood pressure. That is true, you have a high blood pressure, but who is responsible? The doctor is responsible. And the moment you come out of the hospital, blood pressure comes down. This is called, it is not called high blood pressure, it is called white coat syndrome. The moment you look at white coat, blood pressure shoots. And it happens with 80% of the patients. 80% of those who are taking antihypertensive drugs, they are not a true patient. It is just that they are suffering from what we can call as white coat syndrome. So this is again official data, American Journal of Cardiology. If you see Norway, the normal blood pressure there of average citizen is 150 by 90, and Norway is also the country with the highest, longest living people, 80 years on average. If a doctor from here goes to Norway and checks the blood pressure of the citizen, what they will say? My God, everybody is having high blood pressure, they may die any day, let me bring the blood pressure down, isn't it? So what is your normal? It may be different from my normal. And it is not my opinion, it is the opinion of Journal of American Medical Association 2013. In India there is a small island, tribal people live, called Jaravas. They are the healthiest tribe in the world, and their normal blood pressure is 100 by 60. Again you think, if doctor from here checks their blood pressure, what they will conclude? My God, very low blood pressure. Do something. It must be raised, otherwise they will die. Most important is how to know what is your good blood pressure. First of all, your good blood pressure may be different from his optimum good blood pressure. One shoe cannot fit all of us, isn't it? Our metabolism, each one of us is having a different kind of metabolism. So is the blood pressure is the reflection of that. Now, if I ask you, what is the standard blood pressure, healthy blood pressure? Any answer? 120 by 80, but you said 120 by 70. Okay. So normally whenever in any kind of training I go, even in medical college, universities, So whichever country, if I ask this question, immediately most of them 120/80, most of them. Had I asked this question about 20, 30 years back, the answer would have been at that time 160/100. Joint National Committee report 4. According to at that time, if anybody having blood pressure more than this, only then they should be called as hypertensive and they are fit to take medication. But then it became 140/90. Now you are saying 120/80. You are saying 120/70. Maybe by the end of this year, it will become 115/70 or 75. And if it happens, only those people will be called healthy, those who will not check their blood pressure. Anybody checking the blood pressure will be diagnosed as a patient, a blood pressure patient. So, in this situation, the first important thing is don't overdiagnose. Right? Diagnosis should be symptomatically. Do you have any symptom? Any discomfort? If no discomfort, whatever is your blood pressure, that is suitable to you. Need not to worry about that. So, hand in hand, two things comes together. 73% of the diabetes patients are also on antihypertensive drugs. If you are a blood pressure patient, means if you keep on taking blood pressure pills, within 2, 3, 4 years, your blood sugar will raise and that will be added to the menu. And if you are on diabetes pills, then within 2, 3 years, vice versa. So the moment you start with one pill, it will not remain one pill, it will be multiple pill. So the first thing is, don't start this, don't do it. So, and the third thing is, one is blood pressure, one is blood sugar and other is cholesterol. How it works, we must know this. So I'll talk about 2-3 minutes on cholesterol, then how to control all of them, we'll come to that. Cholesterol medication, if you see the name of the cholesterol medication, what it is called? Statin. Some statin, atorvastatin, some statin, but statin is one thing which is permanent. The second part of the name, statin. Cholesterol lowering drug, statin. Need not to know more about it, only statin word will do if you remember this word. According to FDA, Food and Drug Administration, 2012, statin may cause diabetes, muscle damage, memory loss, even erectile dysfunction. So normally when you buy the statin, cholesterol lowering drug, you buy the leaf, right? You don't buy the box. The warning is there in the box, but box you don't buy, right? So you don't know. So FDA, they ruled in 2012 that if you are selling statin, you must write this. Manufacturer said, okay, I will write. But where they write? In the big box, which a single patient will not buy. You will buy a leaf, right? So, but if you don't see this warning, that does not mean that this medicine is not affecting you badly, isn't it? It is still affecting your body. So, if you are one who is taking statin, this means you are inviting diabetes, memory loss, erectile dysfunction, and that starts within 6 months, sometime within 2 months also. So, how the statin works? To understand how the statin works, you ask your doctor just one question. What is the scientific name of cholesterol lowering drug? They will say statin. Statin is not a scientific name, right? So, a chemical name. You can Google it. The chemical name of cholesterol lowering drug is HMG coenzyme inhibitor. HMG coenzyme is a kind of chemical which your body produces, and the statin which you are taking, it does not reduce cholesterol, it inhibits, it stops, it interferes with the functioning of HMG coenzyme, a kind of chemical which the body produces. Here, to understand this, you need not to be a chemistry student or a medical student, just a common sense will help you to understand. What happens? Your body produces certain kind of chemical and they initiate certain kind of process, and this process, mevalonate pathways, it causes the production of some kind of chemical again, and among them one of the chemical is cholesterol. Now the medicine which you are taking, which is called cholesterol lowering drug, they do not reduce the cholesterol at all. First of all, cholesterol is not bad. Every day thousands of cells die, thousands of new cell is also comes in your body. The outer layer of the new cell is made up of cholesterol. So no cholesterol means death. New cell will not come. It has to have the outer layer, that is cholesterol. So the body is able to produce cholesterol through this chemical. The medicine which you are taking, what is the name of the medicine? Statin. How it works? It is called HMG coenzyme inhibitor blocking. How it blocks? Here. When it blocks here, this means automatically it inhibits the production of these chemicals. So automatically the cholesterol level will also go down. In addition to that, what else will go down? Rest of all. What is the function of each one of them? I will give you just 1 minute example. CoQ10. Our leg muscles in the arms, if you work right the whole day, it get tired, and then you give a rest, and then again it get charged, refreshed. One muscle which never get tired, which is the heart muscle. Since the time you are born, right, it never get tired. Do you want it to take a rest a little bit? Yeah, like other muscles. Yeah, you have been working since my childhood. Why don't you take few minutes rest? You cannot dare to do it, right? Why the heart muscle don't need rest? Why the heart muscle don't get tired? Because the heart muscles get a special chemical, and that is called CoQ10. This chemical gives a continuous strength to the heart. Now when you are taking cholesterol lowering drug, the production of CoQ10 is also reduced. What will happen? The heart becomes weak and tired. And normally the patient within 6 months of taking cholesterol lowering drug, they report to the doctor, now I feel tired easily, isn't it? And doctor, instead of stopping the cholesterol lowering drug, what the doctor advise? Okay, you start taking CoQ10 also. So try to understand, this is not a cholesterol lowering drug, it is blocking the complete production of a pathways. And each of the chemical is responsible for one very, very important work. One of them is giving you immunity, other giving protection from cancer, third one protecting you from becoming a diabetic patient. But the whole series of production of chemical is being blocked by the kind of chemical which you are taking. Here one important thing I would like to say, that nobody on earth should take cholesterol lowering drug. So the first thing you must do before you, once you go back, throw the cholesterol lowering drugs. Don't throw, because I don't want that even the animals should get an access to it. In 1970, the American military, they went to China and they found a kind of plant called red rice plant. And the red rice plant, God has given a special power. If some insect comes around to kill or eat the plant, it can spray some chemical, and that chemical kills anybody, small insects, who is about to attack that plant, red rice plant. So the American soldiers, they brought the plant to US. The chemical which that plant produced, the poison, that poison is called statin. So what you are taking is the poison which can kill the insect. It is good. So don't throw the cholesterol lowering drug. You make a powder, and camphor, kapoor, you take kapoor, kapoor, you make a powder of that also, mix it and burn it in your room. So the smoke, with the smoke, all the insects and the mosquito will run away, right? So, so cholesterol lowering drug is good, but not for you, right? Good for your house, right? So all kind of small insect will run away. Now here, till now I have told you what is the harm of taking medication. These medicine is not contributing in any way to your health. It is giving you certain number which can satisfy you, but at the cost of every day you are sick, more sick and more sick, right? So Question is, what should I do tomorrow morning? Tomorrow morning, the moment I get up, at the time of taking medicine, what should I do? Now what I am going to tell you, this is what you have to implement in your life. Till now it was theory, right? Now it is practical which you have to do. I call it it is called 3 days diagnostic challenge. 3 days diagnostic challenge. So you have to go for 3 days diagnostic challenge, and this diagnostic challenge is for people who are diabetic for less than 10 years, who are non-insulin dependent, who are not a kidney disease patient, who has not had angioplasty, bypass surgery or heart attack or brain stroke. If you satisfy this, that you are a diabetic patient but only on pills, you never had an heart attack, you are not taking any insulin, you are not a kidney patient. If you satisfy this, then what I am going to tell you in next 5 minutes, you have to implement that. But if you do not satisfy this, then what you need to do, that I will tell you little later. So now this part, first 5 minutes for those who satisfy this. Yeah, all. This means you should not be on insulin, or you should not be a kidney patient, or you should not have a history of heart attack or surgery. Surgery means only bypass surgery and angioplasty. Then you can take 3 days diagnostic challenge. It is called 250. In this challenge, the first step, for next 3 days, starting from tomorrow morning, for next 3 days you need to stop all the 3 medicine: blood sugar, blood pressure and cholesterol. Now the moment you hear the word stop all the medicine altogether, it is like an alarm, threatening, if I die what will happen. So some participants, sometimes what they do, they go back to their doctor and then they ask for second opinion. Doctor, yesterday I went there was a speaker, a doctor, he said that you can stop the medicine for 3 days. Should I stop? What do you think will be his answer? If you stop, if something happens, I am not responsible. Okay, this is a standard answer. What should be your answer? Your answer should be, okay doctor, I will not stop, I will continue according to your advice. If now something happens, will you be responsible? You must understand, only one person on earth is responsible for your health, that is you yourself, nobody else. And if it is you, then you have to take back that power. You have to understand your health little bit so that you can control it yourself. You cannot give this responsibility to anybody else. It is your health. If it pains, it is your pain. So here with lot of responsibility I can tell you, the number of patients which I have seen, especially diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, right? So that is much more than any other doctor you know. What happens, a patient comes to me once only and they are no more a patient. But a traditional doctor, one time you are a patient, lifetime you are a patient. So they may be more rich than me, they may have more number of patients outside their office because they are coming every day. But my patient, right, for example, next time when I will meet you, for most of you, right, you will not be a patient anymore. That I know, if you are going to do what I am going to tell you in next 3 days. Thank you. So for next 3 days, you can take this 250 challenge, and it is a very safe challenge, don't worry about it. I will tell you how to do it safely. For 3 days, stop taking these 3 drugs, 3 medicine: blood pressure, blood sugar and cholesterol. If you are taking any kind of supplement, stop that as well. 4 things. On the third day, take the blood pressure test. Check your blood pressure, and blood pressure having systolic and diastolic, top and bottom. Add both of them. If the total is less than 250, then you are not a blood pressure patient. According to the new guideline, it is in front of you, the reference. If it is less than 250, you are not a blood pressure patient. This means unnecessarily you are taking medicine and you are making you more sick. So third day, blood pressure challenge, systolic plus diastolic. If it is less than 250, you don't need medication, right? So number 2, cholesterol. If the total, now there are too many kind of cholesterol, LDL, HDL, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, very bad cholesterol, triglyceride. There are so many things to confuse you. Remember, your body produces only good cholesterol. There is nothing called bad cholesterol. Why the body will produce something bad? Body produces total cholesterol. So don't worry about LDL, HDL, triglyceride, only focus on total cholesterol, one number. Lipid profile, check the top one, total cholesterol, what is written in front of that. If it is less than 250 mg per deciliter, this means you do not need the cholesterol lowering drug at all. I mean cholesterol lowering drug, otherwise also nobody should take. The only thing is your cholesterol is very much in safe limit, right. So, but if you ask me from where I got this number, what is the evidence? The evidence is too much. I will not be able to cover in this only few minutes are given to me. But this is the high cholesterol and medical fraud. So this for you, maybe, right. So for rest of you, I can give you the link. You can download the e-book. It's free. So you will get all the evidence if you really want the evidence. So evidence is there. If it is less than 250, need not to worry. Your cholesterol is very much in safe range. Now coming to the third thing, that is sugar. After 3 days, roughly on third day itself, you check the fasting blood sugar early morning and blood sugar before going to sleep. Assuming that you are going to bed at least 2 hours after eating the last food. Let's say you finished your dinner at 8 p.m. when you are allowed to sleep? 10. This means at 10 p.m., at least 10 p.m. you are checking your blood sugar, not before that, 2 hours after your dinner. Add both of them, divided by 2. If the result is less than 250 mg per deciliter, that is about 14 millimole per liter, then you are not a diabetes patient also. And I can tell you with my experience, if you do it, 70% of you will drop the medicine, right, without any other modification in your lifestyle, just by checking whether you truly need or not. 70%. If 100 of you are taking medicine, now 70 will not take medicine anymore, just by this check. And this is again a new guideline, which was released on 6th March 2018, ACP guideline. Anybody heard of this guideline? One. Right. Only my patient, they know about this guideline. And this guideline says that if you are having blood sugar less than this, need not to take any medication. So at the end of this training, which is only few more minutes, before you leave, you can take the guideline copy. I have a physical copy for each one of you, so that, because what you are listening here, if you go back to your home and then you tell your near and dear relative, doctor, friend, they will think that you are mad. You went for a diabetes reversal training and you became mad also, right? Rather than curing your diabetes, your brain also got affected. So I want to equip you with the evidences, right, so that you can at least confront them. So for 70% of you, that on third day itself you will be free from all these 3 medications. So for them, whatever I am going to tell after this, you may not make much meaning, because you are not diabetes patient, not a blood pressure patient, not a cholesterol patient. But 30% of you may see high blood sugar more than 250, may see high blood pressure more than 250, may find cholesterol more than 250. Why I say that you have to stop the medicine for 3 days? Because that is the amount of time it will take for your body to flush all the medicine which you were taking for last several years, right. So that's why I say that 3 days. On third day, the amount of blood pressure, cholesterol and blood sugar the body is maintaining is without any interference of the medicines. It is the body's natural ability to maintain that level, and that level is safe if it is less than 250. But only 70% of you will be free from the medication, still 30% of you will have high some or all the three parameters. What should they do? First of all, they should not go back to medication. The answer is they should try to reduce it. Now I am going to tell you the technique how to reduce it within 1 to 3 days. It will take about 24 hours to 72 hours to bring it in a safe range. So this means you brought it in safe range without medication, and that's what should be the true way to achieve the health. So now very, very important, how to reduce it to the safe range, right. I am directly coming to the solution. So I am giving this example, a story, to help you understand how to control, bring all the parameters less than 250 within 24 hours to 72 hours, and that is going to be a revolution in your life, in your health. This is a small island in Andaman Nicobar, and I clicked it from my phone, and there are a number of islands, and one of the island called Jarawas, and tribal people they live, and this is an island which is not open to the public, because the people they live looks like this, and they were dissociated from rest of the world for last 50,000 years. This means they did not see any development, not even how to light a fire. So they live the same lifestyle as our ancestors. So still the same lifestyle. And if they see modern man like us, they will kill with this weapon, as you can see. So it is not allowed, restricted place. About 3.5 years back, I got an opportunity to be there with some precautions. There I got to meet one doctor called Dr. R.C. Kar. He went inside somehow 25 years back. He is the only person who got friendship with these people, could understand their language, and ultimately Government of India appointed him as a representative to talk. I asked the doctor, do they suffer from diabetes? He said never. I asked, what about high blood pressure? He said, in fact, they all have a lower blood pressure. How much blood pressure? I already gave you a figure, 100/60. I asked, what about cancer, heart disease? He said, they all are very strong and healthy. Only when they fall from the tree, or only when they are attacked by other animal, that is the time they get injured. That is the time when he gets an opportunity to comfort them in the process, get some blood sample to test and check their blood pressure, and he wrote a book also on Jarawas, a thick book with their all the medical report. They are technically Indians, but with no incident of heart disease or diabetes or blood pressure. One kind of people. Then there is another kind of people. About 4 years back, I got an opportunity to be in Kuwait. Kuwait, very high prevalence of diabetes, about 20%. Very high prevalence of diabetes. So with the help of Kuwait Medical Association, I got an opportunity to study them. So now I have two set of humans, one no diabetes at all, other highest diabetes prevalence. Both are human, zero diabetes, very sick, no sickness. And I could find only one thing which decides whether they are going to be sick or they are going to be healthy, and that is the choice of their food, how they choose the food. And I named it VIP diet and DIP diet. You know, VIP, in India what is VIP? Anybody who can break the law, VIP. You see in a traffic signal, if somebody can break the traffic rules, in spite of red light, if they can cross and nobody is going to catch them, look, VIP is going. So VIP means the symbol is he can break the law, he is above the law. Some food, when you consume, when you eat, when it hits the stomach, it behaves like a VIP. It doesn't understand the rule of the body, it directly jumps in the blood, disturbing the blood homeostasis, increasing the blood sugar and making the chaos in the body. They can be called as VIP diet. Then there is another thing called DIP diet. People like us, disciplined, D and intelligent people. So when you are in traffic, how you behave? If there is a red light, you stop. If it is the green light, carefully you see around and then slowly you go safely, your safety, people's safety, you take care of all this. We are DIP. There are certain kind of food, when you eat, it goes in the stomach. If the blood sugar is already high, it will not enter the bloodstream. It will hide in the liver or hold in the stomach or will be thrown out of the colon. Only when the blood sugar is reasonably low, it will add drop by drop. Any diabetes patient, if they can be on DIP diet for some days, he cannot live, he cannot remain as a diabetes patient. On the other hand, any healthy person, if they choose to be on VIP diet for some days, he cannot remain healthy. As simple as that. The only thing you have to do from tomorrow is, at least for 60% of the time, 70% of the time, whenever you think of eating, you choose DIP diet. If you can do it, you cannot be sick. And if you are sick, within few days, I am not saying few months, within few days, you will recover from the sickness, illness. The important question, what could be the important question? How to choose, how to know what is DIP diet? Very simple, the next two slides and things, rather next one slide. Only 4 things in this world are called VIP diet. Animal food. Anything comes out of animal is VIP diet. Their behavior in the body is like a VIP. How? I will explain. Especially dairy products. If you want to just take away one thing from here, I will say stop animal food. If you cannot stop, at least reduce animal food, right? So when people, there are some people, especially when I go to Vietnam, they are too much on animal food. If I say stop animal food, they will throw me out of the country. They cannot live without animal food. They are animal lover. They say it's better to die rather than not eating animal food. Then I negotiate with them. So if you are one of them, my negotiation is try to reduce animal food. My negotiation is try to eat animal which are less harmful. The animal which are having less cholesterol. How to know which animal is less harmful? How to know which animal is having less cholesterol? Very simple. Animal with less number of legs are less harmful. Beef, pork, goat, 4 legs, very harmful. Too much cholesterol. Chicken, only 2 legs. Okay to eat. Fish, no legs. Very good. So, next time when you sit for a lunch or dinner somewhere, when they serve you animal food, you first stop. Let me count the legs. 4 legs, take it away. Okay, 2 legs, give me little. No legs, very good, very good. Once a participant asked me, doctor, what about snake? No legs. If you see snake, inside there are millions of or thousands of small legs inside the skin. Very, very harmful. Prefer sea animal than land animal. And when you prefer sea animal, again count the leg. Octopus, 8 legs, don't eat. So, what I mean to say that first stop taking animal food. If at all you really want to take, reduce it and choose wisely. One thing I really want you to stop, totally, only one thing, here I am not flexible, that is dairy products. Milk is not a food. Humans are the only animal who drink milk lifelong. Humans are the only animal who drink other animals' milk. No animal drinks somebody else's milk. A tiger may hunt a cow, kill a cow, eat a cow. But have you ever heard tiger catching a cow and drinking cow's milk? Here there can be a debate, long debate on milk, but time is very limited. Maybe in questions around you can ask. I give you a challenge. Whatever I am going to say now, don't do it. But stop milk for 15 days. Dairy product, all the product comes from dairy for 15 days. After 15 days, come back. Ask, how is my stomach? How was my sleep? How is my energy level? How is my blood sugar? How is my blood pressure? For each one of the parameters, you will see a significant improvement. Just stopping for 15 days, half a month. And that is the real evidence right? But anyway, I'll keep it for question answer round if we have time. I go ahead. So 4 things are VIP diet: animal food, industrial food. Anything which comes to a plate, before coming to a plate, if it is going to a factory, staying there for some reason, industrial food. Anything which is packed, don't open the packet, let it be in the packet. Third, supplements, nutritional supplement. Nutritional supplement do not work the way you expect them to work. Why? Again, I leave it for question answer round, but stop it whatsoever. Maybe the reason why you were consuming, don't take it. Medicine can also be called a VIP diet. The thing which is DIP diet, fruits, vegetable, nuts, sprouts and leaves. If you include at least 60% of this in your diet, you cannot remain sick. Why? You do one experiment tomorrow. Take any fruits and vegetable, make a juice. Put under the microscope, what you see is like this. Is it dead or it is living? It is alive. It is called live enzyme. Take a packed juice, Tropicana, etc., whatever, put it under microscope. Do you think you will find the same? No, cannot be. We have to understand that this live enzyme is like a driver of a car. Imagine a luxury car, but no driver. Only you start the car, put a brick on the accelerator, let it run on the street. What will happen? Only one thing, accident. What kind of accident, who will get hurt, how much, you do not know, but surely accident. When you eat food, only food without this driver, that brings in sickness. Right? Because in your body, in the stomach, it produces something called incretin hormone. It is like traffic police man of the stomach, and it guides the food when to stop, when to release in the blood, and at what speed, which nutrient. These decisions are taken in the stomach. But who understand incretin hormone? This live enzyme. But if you kill it and now you eat the food, it is having good nutrition, but good nutrition is not sufficient. The driver to take the nutrition to the right place is also important. Having a luxurious car is not enough. There has to be a good driver. If there is no driver or a bad driver, you may not reach your destination at the right time, or you may not reach it altogether. So, what I just said, if you do it, what you can expect in next 1 month? Bill Clinton did it. 2004, he had 4 bypass surgery. 2005, 1 lung surgery. 2010, 2 angioplasty. At this time he was very fat and also a little bit mad. If you check any video of this time, you can find him very, very ill. In 2010, he was told about this kind of diet. He decided to follow it. Within few days, his weight reduced, his heart improved. He did not need any medication anymore, and he became healthy again. Now it is 2019, about 10 years already. And now if you see him, he is more energetic, he is more active, even more handsome than before. And the mainstream media asked him, what is the secret of your new health? The answer which he gave, I want you to listen what he says.
But I did it for a different reason. I mean, I wanted to lose a little weight, but I didn't dream this would happen. I did it because after I had this stent put in, I realized that even though it happens quite often that after you have bypasses, you lose the veins because they're thinner and weaker than arteries. The truth is that it clogged up, which means that the cholesterol was still causing buildup in my vein that was part of my bypass. And thank God I could take the stents. I don't want it to happen again. So I did all this research, and I saw that 82% of the people since 1986 who have gone on a plant-based, no dairy, no meat of any kind, no chicken, turkey. I eat very little fish. Once in a while I'll have a little fish, not often. If you can do it, 82% of the people who've done that have begun to heal themselves. Their arterial blockage cleans up. The calcium deposit around their heart breaks up. This movement has been led by a doctor named Caldwell Esselstyn at the Cleveland Clinic, Dean Ornish and Minoa in California, the doctors Campbell, father and son, who wrote the China study, and a handful of others. But we now have 25 years of evidence. And so I thought, well, since I need to lose a little weight for Chelsea's wedding, I'll become part of this experiment. I'll see if I can be one of those that can have a self-clearing mechanism. We'll see.
Here you heard Bill Clinton. He talked about how he stopped dairy products, animal food, only mostly based on plant, and how his life changed. He also talked about T. Colin Campbell, China study, the biggest ever study on nutrition and health. China study is a research, the biggest ever research, and the Vietnamese edition, it came in 2017, and the publisher, they gave me an opportunity to write the foreword for this book, the Vietnamese edition, and I got an opportunity to become a small part of this big project. So what I mean to say that millions of people are already using this method, is nothing new. The only thing is that maybe it has not reached you. So exactly what you have to do, this is the last 3 minutes and that is the conclusion. What you have to do exactly from tomorrow, right, to ensure that everything is in parameter, and if not, then how to bring it in parameter. What you can expect is, if you do it, in 3 days you can be free of blood sugar. Within 3 days to 7 days, blood pressure, cholesterol. It takes about 1 month to be free of heart disease, means angina. So these are the timeline. Some disease may take longer time, but my experience is ultimately the patient starts getting healed the moment he starts this, what I am going to tell you in next 3 minutes, the concluding. Step 1, tomorrow morning, step 1. This is for everybody actually, not just for curing diabetes or hypertension. Step 1, till 12 noon, only eat fruits, 3 to 4 kind of fruits of your choice. And if you are a diabetes patient, choose the fruits which are sweeter, like mango or chiku or grapes. Sweeter the fruit, faster you heal. How much quantity is very important. My body weight is 70 kg into 10, 700 grams of, at least 700 grams of 3 to 4 kind of fruits, right? So minimum, if you eat less than this, it is a food. If you eat more than this, it is a medicine. No parathe, no roti, no bread, no pasta, etc., chai, coffee. I am not asking you to eat less. In fact, I am asking you to eat more. Eat this. Step 2, lunch and dinner. Whenever you sit for lunch or dinner, sit with 2 plates. In plate 2, you put whatever you really want to eat. Roti, sabji, dal, chawal, dosa, ulta, seedha, jo bhi, whatever you want to eat, as much as you want to eat, put in plate 2. Actually, I am not restricting you to eat anything. Only thing I am telling is, before you eat or touch plate 2, eat plate 1. Plate 1 is 3 to 4 kind of vegetables, which you think you can eat in raw, tomato, cucumber, radish, carrot, etc. Right? But important is quantity. Your body weight into 5. This means in my case 350 grams or more of plate 2, plate 1, right? So once you finish this, only then you are allowed to eat plate 2. First 2-3 days after finishing this, you may not have the appetite to eat plate 2. But after that, 4th day, more you eat plate 1, more you feel hungry. And you will end up eating more than what you are eating now, plate 2. So don't worry that you have to compromise on plate 2. No, you are going to eat more. Last step, step 3. Avoid packed food, refined food, dairy product, nutrition supplement. If you want to drink tea and coffee, at least not before 12 o'clock. So I am not restricting it. I am just saying the right and wrong time, right? And never eat after 8 p.m. and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, avoid it, right? And what you can do as a snacks, if you want to eat, fruits can be eaten all other part of the day also. As a snacks, nuts, as a snacks, sprouts, coconut water as a snacks, and most important is 45 minutes of sunshine. If you are living in Dubai, 10 minutes of sunshine is enough, right? but very important. So if you do it, what will happen? My patient, like you, maybe when I come back after 3 months, 4 months, my patient meets again and say, doctor, after you went, I stopped going to parties and I stopped going to those streets where I could see my favorite restaurants. I stopped eating all those things which I liked so much. I strictly followed your diet. My blood pressure reduced, my blood sugar reduced, my weight also reduced, and my desire to live also reduced little bit. You deserve this memento from Indo-Vietnam Medical Board. Thank you so much. Our president here, Mr. Nimish, please come on stage. And without you, I wouldn't have been here. So I honor you with the Indo-Vietnam Medical Board memento.
So before I accept this memento on behalf of each one of you, let's have a big round of applause for Dr. Biswaroop.
The Vice President Krishnanji, please.
It seems like you and me, we keep losing connection. Whenever you talk to me, it doesn't make any sense.
Thank you. May I ask the doctor to remain on stage, please? It's wonderful to hear you, sir, today. And I think it's now the DIP diet that we should all be going to now. And on behalf of IBPC, we would also like to honor you with a small memento. May I request Mr. Jitendra Negi, Council Labour, and Mr. Prem Kumar, so to please join us on stage to hand over a memento to Dr. Biswa Chowdhury. Thank you, sir. It was enlightening and a wonderful session. I'm sure that people may want to ask questions, but due to paucity of times, we may have to cut short if required, maybe just 1 or 2 questions if somebody... No, the doctor has to leave. He's leaving in about 10-15 minutes now. Yeah, just 2-3 minutes because I'm sure there would be some questions. So please keep it brief. Don't share experiences with just ask your question. Otherwise, we are going to cut short with just 1 question. So we'll just have 4 to 5 minutes questions, please.
Doctor, thank you for this wonderful talk. I have just one question. The food that you said, it's recommended to avoid diabetes or blood sugar. This is normally the food for the vegetarian people. Do they suffer from such diseases? Who have been normally on vegetarian people, you know, who don't count legs like I count. Mm-hmm. So they eat this kind of food, but do they suffer from such diseases and why?
Yeah. You see, in India, there are many states and cities where the people, they eat vegetarian food only. But they do have the similar amount of prevalence of diabetes, hypertension and heart disease equal. Why? Because 2 important things. One, I call them non-vegetarian because still they are eating animal food in the form of dairy products. In fact, they are eating much more because they think that they are deprived of something. So they are eating, compensating that by drinking or eating dairy products, number 1. So they are still eating animal food. Food that comes from animal, number 1. Number 2, vegetarian do not guarantee that you will be healthy. When you eat food with live enzyme, that will guarantee. So you ask yourself, when was the last time when you ate something and what was the quantity you ate which was live? Fruits, vegetable in raw state. You see, when you have lunch and dinner, the salad portion, it remains there only, and it's like a showpiece for most of us. Even if you eat, do you eat this quantity? That is the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir.
Doctor, one quick question. You were going to talk about those people who already had a bypass or other diseases. Would you comment
So,
on
so
that, please?
for,
Thank you.
for that, that is a limitation of time. But for you, those who are already having bypass surgery and all that, they can start this diet without stopping the medicine. And as the blood sugar, blood pressure will taper down, take your doctor in confidence and then let them taper it, number one. But your doctor will not support you. Then in embassy we had a training for embassy people only 2 days back, how to taper medicine on your own. This video I am going to upload on 30th of this month once I go back to India. So you see the 2 hours training and then you will be able to handle how to taper down the medicine on your own, right? So my advice right to all of you, those who are kidney patients or taking insulin or had bypass surgery, start this medicine, this food, but don't stop the medicine. Or you go to the doctor or learn yourself by seeing my video, my YouTube channel, Dr. Bishwaroop Roy Chaudhary.
Sir, I have similar questions. If we have diabetes for more than 10 years, so
Yeah. If you are only diabetes, only, and there is no multiple medication,
Yeah.
then still you can go for 3-day challenge and you can consider what I just told. But if it is multiple medicine, 3-4 kind of drugs to control the blood sugar, then maybe you come under that category.
okay. Second thing about the vegetables, here we do get most of the preserved stuff. Is that going to be same effective as fresh vegetables, what we don't see it here much?
Yeah, you see, most of the time, even including me, we eat whatever vegetable we get next door, which is lot of pesticide, lot of preservation, right? In spite of that, it works. Even in his case, he did not get the organic vegetable. He stays in here, in this country only, Abu Dhabi, he ate the vegetable which you are getting. What I mean to say, in spite of that, it is working. The timeline I gave, how much time it will take to respond, is assuming that you are not going to get a fresh or organic vegetable. But just imagine what will happen if you get fresh and organic vegetable.
Is the last question, please? Last question. Last question.
Yeah, water intake, here I did not touch it because when you are on this kind of diet, you are literally eating water. Because these vegetarian fruits are 70 to 80% water only. So you will not have much desire to drink water, but whatever is the thirst according to it, you can just drink a little bit.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful time.
Thank you.
We'll certainly try and get the web links and other information to circulate to members so that we can get all the information that we want. Thank you once again, Dr. Bishwaroop Chaudhary, for... Yeah, there are some few brochures here which we will share, giving the guidelines for this. So thank you very much for all of you, and thank you for being with us. We'll now move to the next session that we have in place, which is on the Visa Immigration and Investor Program from the United States of America, and we have with us.
Can we have them?
Can you please be seated, please? Can you please? Yeah. Yeah, please have a seat, please. We are going to start the next session, and we have great pleasure in, please. May I request all of you to be seated, please, please. Please take your seat. Thank you. Can I have all of them silence, please? Please sit down. We'll now start the second session, which is on Indian citizens seeking permanent relocation to the USA. And we have two experts who have come all the way from the United States to talk to us. I would briefly introduce both the speakers, and we will then call them on stage to have a session. This again is going to be an interactive session where they would be making a brief presentation and then talking to us in terms of the immigration issues that are prevalent in the US and how you can move to the US for residency. The first speaker, may I have great privilege in welcoming Mr. Prakash I. Patel. Can we begin, ladies and gentlemen? If the meeting is not off, we still have a session to complete, so may I request all of you to please keep quiet and settle down in your seats. Yeah, I have now I have privilege in introducing Mr. Prakash I. Patel. He is the founding principal and CEO of GCFID. Until 2011, Mr. Patel was a partner in a closely held family business, which consisted of a portfolio of companies including insurance, finance, lodging and real estate development. His responsibilities included the acquisition and divestiture of several related business entities, development and disposition of various commercial and real estate assets, and the overall planning and execution of corporate strategy. May I please call upon Mr. Prakash Patel to join us on stage, please. Joining Mr. Patel will be Mr. Ryan Conaway. Ryan Conaway is currently a principal of GCFID. He is a founding member and principal of GCFID. Complementing his investment activities, Mr. Conway is also the founding member and principal of Dominus Property Partners, a private real estate company focused on direct investments, development and asset management. Mr. Conway's transaction experience includes equity and debt financing for asset acquisitions, preferred equity and subordinated debt, recapitalization, asset management solutions, including debt forgiveness and restructuring, detailed financial analysis for asset underwriting, and full-fledged development planning and management. May I welcome both Mr. Patel and Mr. Conway, please.
Can you hear me? Is the mic on? Mic's on? Thank you, Krishna, for that kind introduction. It's our pleasure to be here today. So how do I follow that? Good evening, everyone. Myself is Prakash Patel and Ryan Conway. We're here from Atlanta, Georgia in the USA to talk to you about the EB-5 visa immigrant investor program. It's about migrating, anybody that's interested in migrating to the US. And as of today, it's called the DIP visa. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Now, this is quite a detailed topic, and immigration is very special to us. People get afraid when it's anything to do with the government, and there's a lot of detail behind this. And as we're the second session of the evening, as I don't have any suitcase, as I don't have any coins or videos, I'm going to try and make this interactive, so I'm going to need your help. What I want to do is really go through the key points, and then I'm going to give a copy of the presentation, which has a lot of details, to the IBPC chairman, and then you can get access to it. Myself and Ryan have done a bunch of presentations, and what we find is to keep it interactive is probably the best way to go. And so what we'll do is we're staying here today, so if anybody has any details, let's go through them. We can meet on a one-to-one, and we can follow up after today. We're traveling tomorrow, but Ryan will be back in Dubai the day after tomorrow. So if there are anybody that's interested in the details, we can certainly provide that on a one-to-one basis. So in terms of EB-5 visa, what is it? It's basically an investor visa, and the purpose of that visa is to seek a permanent residence of the United States. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the background, a little bit about us and our company, a little bit about the visa program, the process, and then some of the projects, because at the end of the day, an investor visa means that you're investing in something in the US, and that something is a job-creating project. And so what our company does is provides the investment opportunities for people seeking to invest in the US. So we'll tell you a little bit about our experience, some of the past projects that we have, and then a little bit about statistics. And again, it depends on the questions and answers that come from this audience as to how much depth I can go, but I'll certainly leave a lot of information with the chairman for you to read at your leisure. Do you want to ask? Well, I think the first thing to do is, how many people in the audience have heard of EB-5 visa? How many of you have an interest or have somebody that you know that have migrated or live in the US or are considering moving to the US? Okay, it's very good. So,
Does this mic work? Can you guys hear that well back there? Okay, just wanted to check real quick as we get into this.
okay, so just a little bit of statistics. I'm just going to quickly walk through some of this. What is a regional center? Our company is a US-approved, USCIS-approved regional center. So what our company does is we sponsor capital investment projects for EB-5 investors. Our company was approved by United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, which is the Department of Homeland Security, almost 10 years ago, in 2009. We're based in Atlanta, Georgia, which is our headquarters, and we were approved as a regional center for the entire state of Georgia. So we've been doing this for about 10 years, and we've done about 14 projects, and we'll go through a little bit about some of the projects later on. So our role is to work with experienced and well-capitalized development partners to provide projects that will realize a green card for you and eventually a return of your capital investment. As far as a potential investor is concerned, the track record and experience of the regional center is very important, and the key considerations for choosing who should you work with or who should you invest with. In terms of the EB-5 program, it's currently renewed by Congress until the end of September, and as of 2 days ago, new rules were published which is looking to change certain elements of the program. And a key part of that is the current investment level is around $500,000, and from after November 21st, that will increase to $900,000. So there's a limited opportunity where we see a big demand taking place, especially for Indian citizens. And I'll come through some of that a little bit later on. So first, anybody migrating to any country, you need a visa. So what are the options for Indian citizens? Oh, this has gone the wrong way. So generally, any citizen wishing to look to migrate to the United States, you need a visa. There are two types of visa categories: temporary visas and permanent visas. Temporary visas means that you're going there for a short stay. Permanent visas means that you want to migrate to the US. And we're here today talking about the permanent visa category. Why do people go to the US? US is actually the second most popular destination outside of UAE for Indian citizens looking to migrate. And although there are a number of reasons, the major reason is typically to provide a better future for the family. That's often driven by the children's education. I would say the majority of our investors are doing it for their children because the children want to study in the US.
Or it's the children themselves who are the actual petitioner or who have been gifted funds by way of their parents.
So immigrant visa categories, on the permanent visa side, there are two types. There's family-based sponsorship and there's employment-based sponsorship. And on the EB5 visa is under the employment category, but rather than being sponsored by an investor, rather than being sponsored by an employer, you're actually the investor in the program. So although visa petitions are adjudicated on a first come, first served basis, there are annual limits for each type of visa category. So that causes a delay in your processing. And the time it takes to process and that delay is actually called an immigration line. Times to process visas can vary and depend on a number of factors: the type of visa, the applicant's country of origin, and the size of the backlog. And the backlog is generated because each visa category has a quota. The legal immigration line refers to how long it takes for a visa to become available. So you have a quota, you have a high demand, that high demand results in a backlog, and that backlog then tells you where you are and how long it's going to take for your visa to become available. When you apply for a visa, you're given a priority date. That priority date will tell you where you are in the queue waiting for a visa. And the Department of State every month publishes a bulletin which tells you how long the queue is. All of this is, I'm giving you a very quick overview, but I'll give you some concrete examples as we go through. So this slide shows you an overview of the various different visa categories. You've got your temporary non-immigrant visas on this side, basically B1, B2, 6 months business visas, F1 student visas, J1, etc., etc. And then on this side you have your permanent visa categories, which have two categories: employment-based and family-based, and EB5 sits within the employment-based category. This, again, I'm going to leave all this with you, but in the interest of time, I want to keep it kind of at the high level. But please ask questions at any point. I'll be happy to take questions as you need. The idea of this slide, which I will leave with you, will show you the different family-based categories and employment-based categories. So as an example, if you're a relative of a US citizen, you will be under the family-based category. So if you're a spouse or minor children under the age of 21, or if you're parents of US citizens that are 21 or older, there's no numerical limit. So that family member would sponsor you for a green card. Conversely, on the employment side, if you're EB1, you're a foreign national with an extraordinary ability, so you're a specific scientist or an artist of some sort, you would qualify under this category. And just to give you how to read this chart, these are the annual caps that apply to each different visa category. So in the case of the EB5 visa, which is immigrant investors, 7%, there's a per country limit of 7% of the visas. I told you that the Department of State publishes every month a visa bulletin which tells you where you are in the immigration line. Here's an example of August, so the one that's actually current. Excuse me. And what it shows you is that for India, there are various processing delays for each visa category. So for example, under EB1, which is the professionals, the scientists that I talked about, they're currently processing petitions as of 1st of January 2015. So if you applied prior to 2015, January, they would be processing your visa. If you applied after January 2015, you would have to wait until your visa became current. So last year was the first time actually USCIS published some data regarding how big the queues were. And so the Cato Institute, which is a private partnership, did some analysis. Sorry, I'm pressing the wrong button here. So as of April 2018, which is when they did the analysis, there were 632,000 Indian immigrants and their spouses and children waiting for a green card. That's a huge number. So then they did some subdivision amongst the various different categories and identified what the wait time was, and this was as of last year. So if you're an EB1 visa, you're waiting for 6 years. So if you're a scientist or an artist or somebody of extraordinary ability, you'd be waiting 6 years for a green card. If you're an advanced degree, i.e. a master's degree, you'll be waiting 151 years for a green card. If you've got a bachelor degree, you're waiting on average 17 years. So this is why EB-5 has suddenly become very attractive to Indian citizens. It was only in July of this year that you actually had a backlog. Up until July of this year, you didn't use your quota. In terms of the EB-5 visa, there are 10,000 visas available every year, but every country has a 7% limit, cap. So that means only 700 visas are available for each country. So in the case of 700 visas, that applies to all of the family members. So if you have a typical family of 3 people, that's 3 visas. So every year, around 220 to 240 families are qualified for an EB-5 visa, which is not a big amount. Some other interesting issues. Since Trump's inauguration, he has clamped down on visa processing. Basically, President Trump's motto was buy American, hire American. And as a result, they put in a lot of vetting and detailed processing. So for example, people looking for a green card, before it was statistical processing, now 100% of all green card applicants have a visa, to have an interview. So what that means is the bureaucracy and the processing and the time delays have further increased, and that's made it even more difficult to get a visa, to get a green card. Secondly, the H-1B visa, traditionally Indian citizens have come to the US, the children come on an F visa, they go to college for 3 or 4 years, they then get an OPT, optional training program, where they'll have an employer to sponsor them, and then they'll seek an employer to sponsor them on an H-1B, and that's a 2 times 3 year, 6-year visa. The problem now is that H-1B is becoming very restrictive. The rules for qualifying for an H-1B are being tightened up. There's something called an H-4 visa, which means if you come on an H-1B, your spouse is able to work. That H-4 visa is now being withdrawn. So it's becoming even more complicated. Whereas up until the last year, a lot of Indian citizens were on an H-1B visa and had their employer sponsor them for a green card, and then they would wait up to 100 and something years, i.e. their green card would never happen, but they would be on a valid visa in the US, they could come and go. That benefit is now being taken away.
The vast majority of the 632 applications that came from India were H-1B visas.
So why has EB-5 become attractive? Essentially for these reasons. Number one, there's less of a backlog. In fact, even though there is a backlog, the backlog is somewhere between 3 and 5 years. It's not 17 years, which is the current backlog for an E2 visa. It avoids the H-1B visa issues. You don't need an employer to sponsor you. And you avoid the American competitiveness dependency, which is where they're taking away that after 2 times 3 years, you can get an employer to sponsor you. They're now taking that away. After 2 times 3 years, you then have to leave the United States.
The bottom line, in the current state of US visas, the EB-5 visa is the fastest path to full permanent residency.
And with the current threat on the H-1B visa, there are, in addition to those people waiting for a green card currently, the 630-something, there are 750,000 Indian citizens currently on an H-1B that's at risk in the US. So next step is what I'm here to talk to you about, which is the EB-5 visa program. US Congress created this program in 1990 with the Immigration Act. It's only available to those that can afford it. Right now, the investment is $500,000. From November 21, that $500,000 is going to become $900,000. So as a result of that, we expect a significant demand, and we're already seeing it from Indian citizens looking to take up a EB-5 visa. It's a job creation program, so each unit of investment, each $500,000, must create 10 full-time jobs. And the way the jobs are created is through a project that we will offer you and we'll talk about in a little while. There's also two types of EB-5. There's a direct investment in your own project, and then there's a regional center investment. If you do a direct investment, you're then responsible for the whole project, the business plan, the job creation, etc. And if you think about it, if you're developing, say, a restaurant or something, a family business, and it's your own project, $500,000 is not going to be sufficient to create 10 jobs. Normally in your own project, you're not typically hiring 10 full-time workers, and that's why the EB-5 investment, I would say 96% of EB-5 visas are on the regional center program, and less than 4% are on a direct investment route. So the benefits of working with the regional center, you get credit for direct, indirect, and induced job creation, etc. I mean, there's a lot of detail here. I don't want to go into it right now. I'm happy to take it in a question and answer session. Happy to share the information with you. What I want to do is give you a quick overview of what this is about. So, as I said earlier, 10,000 visas are available every year. The key thing that the Homeland Security is looking for is source of funds. They want to be sure that the money that's invested in the USA is white money, not black money. And therefore, one of the major things in your petition that you'll need to provide is where the money came from. So a lot of people either sell property, they show they own the property, they show the path of funds from the sale of that property to the investment in the US. In the case of the UAE, a lot of people have tax earned income. They're able to show their tax returns and link it to the bank balance to show that the money has been legitimately earned. The goal of the regional center is to offer potential investors quality investment opportunities that will create the jobs and that will secure your green card and then offer you the return of your investment typically in 5 to 7 years. Once a project's been selected, we put together a team of experienced professionals to document. It's basically you're investing in a security, so we employ a securities team, an immigration team, to make sure that all the documentation qualifies with the program requirements and to make sure that you are going to get your petition approved. In summary, the EB-5 visa is attracted to those high net worth individuals seeking to obtain a faster track residency in the United States. So what that means is seeking to be in the US somewhere within a 3 to 4 to 5 year time frame as opposed to 17 years currently for the next category of visa. We talked a little bit about November 21st. Just 2 days ago, or actually on the 24th of July, USCIS published in the Federal Register the changes to the EB-5 program. I've made a summary of the key changes here, but the most important is that the investment level is going to increase from $500,000 to $900,000 from November 21st.
These changes have been in process since the Obama administration. These changes were actually just put through the regulation process, which took a solid 3 years. It was unknown as to when they were going to publish the new rule. They finally published the rule this week, and as a result, that change will become effective November 21st. There will be, and there already has been, a significant increase in investment in this particular category. And between now and November, there's going to be, it's pretty much a rush to see when people can get their investment in at this stage.
And that's an important point, and we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of the rush and what it means for Indian citizens. So what's the process? As the primary goal of the investor is to obtain permanent residency, you have to be confident that the project that you choose will create the jobs and then you will get your money back. There's two main things that you're looking for in an investor. Number one, that you're going to get a permanent green card, and number two, that you're going to get your money back. In terms of permanent green card, the process is that once you apply for an EB-5 visa, there's a processing time, which I'll come to in a little while, and then after that you get a conditional green card. You hold that conditional green card for 2 years. During that 2 year period, you will have created the jobs. 90 days before the end of that 2-year period, we provide a report that shows that your investment has created the appropriate jobs. You then apply for the conditions to be removed, and i.e. you apply for a permanent green card. Once that permanent green card has been put into play, which is 2 years after you have kept the conditional green card, we will then be in a position to return your capital. And once that conditional green card has been made permanent, you are then a permanent resident of the United States. And the time taken through that process, which I'll go into detail because the time is constantly getting worse the longer the delay and the longer the visa backlog increases. So it's very important to get this petition done quickly if there's something that you want to do. So from an investor's point of view, you choose a project, you select a regional center, you'll engage an immigration attorney because this is an immigration petition, so you'll need to have an immigration attorney work closely through the process with you. You prepare your source of funds, where the money came from, and you'll review and complete the offering documents that we will provide, which explain the project that you're investing in. This is a quick summary of the process that I just briefly outlined. So once you've worked with the immigration attorney to prepare your documents, you'll file your petition. Within 7 to 10 days, USCIS will issue a receipt. On that receipt will be a priority date. That priority date will tell you where you are in the immigration line. USCIS will take time to adjudicate that petition, currently around 2 to 3 years. Once the petition has been approved, you will then go to look for a lawful permanent residence. You will then basically get an interview at a consulate if you're based outside the US, or you'll do an adjustment of status if you're already in the US. Once that's approved and you pass your interview, you will then get your conditional green card. You'll hold that green card for 2 years. You'll then file for the conditions to be removed. Once the conditions are removed, you're then basically through the EB-5 process, and we will return the investment. So EB-5 investors typically have the following concerns. Is my money secure during the petition process? How can I be sure that my conditional green card will become permanent? And what's the strategy for returning my investment? Well, our company, GCFID, we're on our 14th project right now. We only work with very well experienced capital partners. So in other words, once you've invested in one of our projects, we're not looking for you to put any more money into the project. The development partners that we work with are very well capitalized. We also work with a project team that has a lot of experience. Our immigration attorney firm we work with is Miller Mayer out of New York. They have done over 6,000 EB-5 petitions, over $3 billion worth of EB-5 investment. And they have a very, very high approval rate. What is it, Ryan? It's about 99.8%. Yeah. Our securities and immigration firm will have reviewed all the documentation. So we make sure that basically there is very little chance of failure. And in fact, they will make sure that your petition will be approved. They'll screen everything before they file it. We ensure that job creation has at least a 20% cushion. In the projects that we have right now, there's about a 40 to 50% job creation cushion so that the jobs will be created. And basically we employ EB-5 Capital as a 5 to 7 year loan. So at the end of that 5 to 7 years, that loan has to be repaid, and that's the mechanism for returning your capital. Anything? So do you want to talk about the project?
Yeah, sure. Let's use this as a case study on to better understand how an investment actually works. This is a sample project. Most of the projects in EB-5 are real estate intensive. Now, as the main objective here, the main objective is to invest $500,000. For each $500,000, you have to create 10 new jobs. So real estate projects are really good to support the 10 new job creations. there are two components of job creation. There's direct jobs and there are indirect jobs. Let's use this hotel as an example to look at job creation. The direct jobs are the physical employees that are working in this hotel. The indirect jobs are the jobs that were created as a result of construction expenditure, the amount of money that was put into this hotel to build, and the revenues generated as a result of this new business on this property. So, in this particular project, $90 million project, let's say the developer is going to spend $70 million on hard construction costs. The expenditure of that $70 million is where an economist derives his job creation from. So it's not the physical employees that may be working in here. In this particular case, it's an apartment, it's a retail, office, and apartment building. So obviously in the apartment component of this, there aren't a bunch of new jobs. However, we spent $70 million on construction expenditure, which creates new jobs way down the food chain. So in this particular project, it's a $90 million project. We will raise $18 million of EB5 investment. That's 36 investors, which will be a small portion, maybe 20%. For the most part, we would recommend any project that doesn't solely rely on EB5. There are a lot of projects out there that have a larger percentage of EB5 in them. We particularly believe that the EB5 should just be a small component, and that the larger component should be senior debt and equity from a developing sponsor. So we raise $18 million from 36 investors. We then loan that project to the entity that owns the asset. The developer is responsible for the expenditure of that.
Go ahead.
Our job as the regional center is becomes an independent asset manager. As Prakash mentioned earlier, it's typically structured as a 5 to 7 year loan. The expectation is that your petition that has been sent to USCIS will take somewhere in that 5 to 7 year time frame. Now, each day that goes by and as more investors go into the queue, that line could potentially get longer. So between now and November 21st, our expectation, especially from India or applicants from India, they will exceed, probably within that short time frame, in the next 120 days, they will more than likely exceed the 700 per country quota. So that line is going to get even longer. That's the full expectation. This just shows the general structure. Basically, you have us as the regional center. We are actually the manager of, we're pooling funds here of EB5 investors. Here's all the EB5 investors. 36 people will invest into this particular entity. We are the asset manager, or we're the manager of that entity. We loan the money from this entity to the entity that owns the project. So, there's a clear independence between our company and the developer. Our job is to act as an asset manager, full oversight of that investment. In addition, you've got an equity investment from a developer. You also have a senior loan from a bank. Now, in our particular projects, what we do, we will not fund this investment until we have 100% of the capital required to complete the project. Why is that important? That's important because you've got two jobs. as the investor. One job is you need to get a green card. The second job is you need to get your money back. So, since we rely on indirect job creation, as long as there's a fully funded project, we then have a completion guarantee from a general contractor. We have a guaranteed max price from the general contractor. We have full funding in place. We know, as an example, this building, if we were using that as an example, we know as long as it was fully funded, we had a completion guarantee in place from a general contractor, this building will be built. You're at least checking one box in that scenario. You're checking the box that says you're going to create the jobs, and as long as the other items in your petition have been approved, you will at least be guaranteed a green card because you've got the job creation. Day one that this building gets built, you've spent the money to build the building, you can check the box that you've created the jobs, and you at least get your green card. Now the second component comes back to receiving a return of your principal investment. That's the second. Everybody wants their green card, but everybody equally wants to have their money returned. So, in that scenario, an investment needs to be structured properly. The investor needs to be protected by the structure, meaning there needs to be independence between the developer and the regional center. And in addition, the project or investment should have sound fundamentals to it. There's a lot of components that drive the financial fundamentals. We can't get into all of those, but it's general. There's always general investment risk. However, there are some projects that are less risky as a result of the way that they are capitalized and the way that they are structured by way of the documentation. How much do you want to?
Just walk through.
So, these are some additional case studies on projects that we have particularly worked on. There's some senior living facilities, there's a hospital, there's some select serve hotels. This was an interesting project that we completed in 2017. It was a $275 million project. It's an office project. Georgia Tech was a 50% tenant in the building. We raised 100 EB5 investors, or $50 million. We invested with the developing partner. The developer on the project is a company called Portman Holdings, which is, they're located in Atlanta. They have a tremendous amount of experience in China and in India. This particular project, to give you some perspective or some real live examples, 100 investors, they were all approved on the initial 526 petition within somewhere with about a 10 to 16 month time frame. The investors are mostly from China in this particular project. We invested alongside JP Morgan, Fifth Third, and a company called China Orient Asset Manager. Again, it was a small component of the project. Since that time frame, they have all been approved. The building is now 80% leased, but as we talked about earlier, there weren't new jobs created as a result of the tenants moving into the projects. The jobs were created as a result of the construction expenditure and the building being built. So that's a real live case study kind of example. I think that's the best way to explain EB5. That's another small select serve hotel. I think the one thing that I also want to focus on is the process. So the initial, once the investment is made, You then engage an immigration attorney. You file for your 526, which is the conditional approval of your green card. That process today, they're stating, I think that currently on the website, there's about a 30-month time period or delay for that approval. In the project that I showed you at Georgia Tech, despite the 30-month estimate, it still took 10 to 16 months for approval. That's a real life example. Even though this is the current processing time frame, 27 to 49 months, and by the way, this 49 months, we're not real sure. I think they've started to calculate. Sometimes there will be outliers where a petition might have numerous RFEs or questions, and it might take longer than your average. They used to not process that. We now believe that they are including those in the statistics. But it's still showing 27 and a half to 49 months. From our perspective, real life example, that's really taking somewhere between 10 to 18 months should be a realistic time frame for the approval. Now, once you receive that approval, you then have to wait for the visa to actually be available, to be able to go and interview and be able to pick up the visa. And that's where the delay comes in. So there's only 700 available per year to India. And as a result of, I think in 2018 we had 837
Petitions, 852 petitions, 500
petitions filed in 2018. So that's 837. Now, that doesn't count, as we talked about before, that doesn't count. So the petition covers the petitioner, their spouse, and any dependents 21 years or younger. So if you have kids, that might be 3 or 4, along with each petition, that might be 3 or 4 visas. So that's 837 petitions. So there's many more actual visas that were filed in 2018. So now what we're going to see, in 2019, there's been a continuation of petitions from India. As a result of what was announced on the 24th, on July 24th, between July 24th and November 21st, when the amount is going to increase, we're going to see a significant number of applications. Who knows what that number is? But my personal estimation is that we could have 1,000 petitions easily. It may be more. It might be double that, because the amount that it's increasing is significant enough to where people are going to rush and file petitions. So once you receive your 526 approval, then you have to wait for your visa to actually be available. Once you pick your visa up, you then have to wait 2 years. And you have to hold your conditional green card for 2 years. 90 days before that 2-year time period is up, you file for your 829. The 829 application is to remove the conditions. At the stage of an 829, you have to show that you've behaved yourself and you've followed all the rules that are associated with the conditional approval. But then that's where we then have to show our job creation. And what we do, again, use this hotel as an example, we show that the building has been built, we take the receipts and the expenditure from the developer, we send that to an economist, they run their economic impact analysis, they then prove out that the jobs have been created. Now, the application time period to receive on the 829 petition is shown as 29 to 49 months. Again, it's probably somewhere in the 12 to 24 months, the realistic time frame. So all in, your 2 years for the 526, there might be a delay based on when the availability of a visa is. Your 2 years to hold the conditional approval, and then you file for your 829, that's another 12 to 24 months. So you're somewhere in the 5 to 7 year time frame is what the expectation should be. Again, every day that goes by, every day petitions are submitted, that line is getting longer. And at the end, when we get to November 21st, the expectation is that we're going to have more delays. We're not exactly sure what the delays are going to be, but they're probably going to be 2 to 3 more years. So, all in, you're probably looking at somewhere 5 to 7 year time frame, 5 to 8 year time frame. But even with that time frame, it's still the fastest process to receive permanent residency.
Okay. So we've got a lot of data and statistics which I'm going to share with you. I'm not going to go through it. What I'm going to do is quickly summarize what this is all about. In essence, I'll just show you what we've got in there, but in essence, the EB-5 visa is a permanent visa, so it's a way of getting permanent residence in the United States. Compared with all the other visa categories, it is the fastest option available for Indian citizens. The negative side is it requires a level of investment. The level of investment is $500,000 plus fees, so typically your fees, immigration attorney fees, syndication fees, USCIS filing fees, is around another $70,000. So all-in cost is around $570,000. If you file before November 21st. After November 21st, it will be $970,000. So the reason for us bringing this presentation to you right now is to show you that there is a limited window for Indian citizens, if they are interested in applying for an EB-5 green card, to get their petition in between now and November the 20th. So we're available should you want to meet with us in person. We're staying here in the hotel. Let's take any questions.
Thank you for this presentation, gentlemen. This visa process of 29 to 49 months, when it is under process, if a children wants to pursue the education in US, the college fees will be of the US citizens fees, or it will be a foreign national fees? What will be applicable during the college admission, the fees and for the universities?
Yeah, college tuition. So question is, how does the residency impact the college tuition fee, right? So each state in the US has their own rules within a certain way in terms of what is a foreign student and what is a domestic student. But in essence, if you have an EB-5, if you have a green card, you're considered a domestic student. But the difference is, in some colleges, residency, i.e. where the student actually lives, counts to the discount of being a resident. So you'll need to look at what college you're applying and what the specific rules are. But in essence, as a green card holder, you are, even with a conditional green card, you are no different from any other green card holder. You are a resident of the United States. But in terms of choosing a college, you have to be very careful to read what the college requirements are for residency. That might require you to actually have, for your child, a home address located close to the college.
Yeah, so, and as that relates to making an EB-5 investment, you can make an EB-5 investment in any project, in any state. You can live, you don't have to live in the state where you make your investment. So if you're, let's say a son or daughter was an EB-5 petitioner, they could go to whatever school they wanted. You could make the investment in whatever state you wanted. But the residency that you're speaking to is actually, they would become a domestic student once they had their conditional green card. But the residency is state specific, meaning each state has their rule on what is considered a resident of that state. So in each one is different, but more, what it usually is that you have a physical address, that you've established bank accounts, and it's usually, I think it's usually for at least 1 to 2 years that you have done that before they will consider you as a resident. So, but it is state specific.
Okay, happy to take any other questions, but also we're around if you want to be
Yeah, I
specific.
have one question.
Go ahead, yeah.
As you had shown that the person with H-1B visa, he's going to have 151 years of wait period to get the permanent residency. So maybe he will get in the next line.
E3 visa, the EB3 visa, employment category 3, which is basically people with bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, that category.
But with the recent announcement, I believe because this was caused due to country-wise quota. And okay, India had a specific quota for them, and the number of applicants were too high, so that's why this was being
Correct.
created.
Correct.
But I believe that quota has been removed now.
That's not correct. The quota, there was a paper to remove the quota that passed the House but did not pass the Senate. There are 3 or 4 different proposals going to the US which is looking to remove the quotas, but none have been approved.
For EB5, do we have any such system of quota? For
Yes, there are
country-wise?
700 visas
country.
available per country per year. And as a result of India up until this year was never achieving 700, but because of the interest and all the problems with H-1B, etc., the demand is now taking off. And as Ryan is saying, we expect that demand to get even worse between now and when the investment level increases.
So 2018, there were 837 EB5 petitions filed.
From Indian
Now,
citizens.
let's talk about this. A lot of the reason why there's a backlog, at some point in time, China alone was doing 12,000 to 15,000 petitions per year. So really that's the reason why the backlog has been created as a result of China and the amount of petitions that they were doing. Explain how that...
Okay, so there are 10,000 visa petitions available every year. Traditionally, the demand has been around 3,000 to 4,000 visas. What happens is the balance, which is around 5,000 to 6,000 visas of unallocated visas, goes to whoever's first in the queue. Now, China has been demanding 10,000 to 12,000 to 15,000 visas per annum in the peak. Therefore, the queue is the majority for the next 5 years is Chinese citizens. So therefore, what happens is, at least for the next 5 to 6 years, all of the spare visas will go to China, and countries like South Korea, India, Vietnam that are now at retrogression, they will be restricted to 700 visas until all of the people at the front of the queue are cleared out.
But, you know, there's a lot of variables that the processing time could speed up. There could be visa relief in future legislation. So there's no way for us to tell exactly where that's going to land. All we can really speak to is if somebody filed a petition today, those are the things that they would experience. They would experience a processing time on their 526. They would experience a delay in the visa being available. Once they receive the visa, there's 2 years to hold the conditional green card. With a conditional green card, it's just like having you have all the full benefits of a permanent green card. And then there's going to be an application time period for the removal of those conditions. So those things are things that we can speak to today. What we don't know is exactly what the queue currently looks like for petitions that have been filed in 2019, nor do we know what's going to happen between now and November 21st. The expectation is it's going to expand.
I have a question to ask. It's a straight question. If there is $1 million on table, what is the quickest way to get obtain a citizenship?
At $1 million?
Yeah, on table.
So that would be a direct investment.
And how fast it will going to take?
Well, there's two things. What you're saying is if I have $1 million, how quickly can I get citizenship, right?
Yeah, not citizenship.
If you're looking at an
The
EB5
pub-
visa,
Yeah.
why would you invest $1 million if you can get the same benefit for $500,000, okay? So the process would be to pick a regional center, pick a project, get your petition filed as soon as
But
possible.
there is anything, you have shown the, real estate investment, so there must be some project which is already been built, so ready, properties
there
must
are-
be available to buy.
Yeah, there are a few direct investment projects that are $4 million. I'm not 100% familiar of exactly what those are.
And second question, adding to
If
the
you
same.
wanted to do a direct investment,
Yeah.
okay, then you would be totally responsible for job creation. You'd be totally responsible for packaging that project, doing the business plan, doing the job creation report, getting that
No.
process approved.
It's
If-
not the direct one, so.
If you're looking
you
at a
got
region-
couple
if
of real estate
Right.
developments going on. So the one which you were showing,
Yeah.
that is 80% is occupied. So the 20% is still not yet occupied.
Yeah, in terms of our projects, they're already fully funded, they're already under construction. Every project we put a camera, so even if you're in Dubai or in India, you can see the progress of construction.
Then
in London.
how there is so many online ads and so many social media ads coming, you have ready properties and all these things are happening.
Yeah.
You guys are aware of it, right?
Yeah, so you have to judge, basically you're responsible for your investment. So you have to look at the track record of the regional center and the quality of the project.
So you're representing directly the government.
We will sit down with you and go through why
Yeah.
you should invest in our project. Equally, everybody will, but we have a track
And the
record.
nature of the currency, do you accept cryptocurrencies or, the investment can be, suppose there is a manufacturer from India,
Yes.
can invest their, maybe their manufactured products or exporting items as a part of investment to any of the projects instead of a hard cash.
No, you would have to invest it in cash into
In
the
cash.
project.
Yeah. And what about the cryptocurrencies?
It's in US dollars. Basically, you
It has
can
to be
convert.
converted into US
Our
dollars.
project, it has to be in US dollars and it
Thank
has
you
to be
very
in the
much.
US account.
During that 2-year temporary green card, does the family has to reside in US?
Okay, the conditions for holding a green card is that at least 6 months of the year you should reside in the US. There is a lot of detail behind that question. The most important thing is you're applying for a green card, which means you want to have US residency. At the time you apply, you also have to sort out your affairs in the country in which you currently reside. So there are some things that you can do to delay the requirement of how long you have to be in the US. And those are things you'll work with an immigration attorney, and we can talk about that. But the basic requirement for a green card holder is you must hold the green card, or you must reside in the US for 6 months of the year.
They want to see intent, that you intend to truly become a resident. What they don't want to see, they don't want to see you, the number of 6, or the estimate of 6 months is usually a guideline that an immigration attorney tells the client. But what's also really important that there aren't a lot of entry and exit time periods of you're not truly becoming a resident. They don't want to see you just commuting between whatever country that you're coming from. They truly want to see that you intend to become a resident of the US. And what happens with a lot of people have their spouse be the petitioner, and then the other who might be working in other countries, they can continue to maintain their current jobs. That's what we see on a lot of it.
And we'll talk to you in detail about that, should that be of interest, and how you manage that, how you get re-entry permits. There's a lot of things that can be done to make that happen. Okay, any other questions?
Yep, there's some more back there. There are potential tax implications. I mean, you should obviously plan from a tax perspective. You should plan before your investment is ever made. However, I think the key aspect to taxation is that the U.S. does have a worldwide tax. You are subject to potentially worldwide taxes. However, that tax issue doesn't become an issue until you become a green card holder. So there is an interim in which you aren't subject to the taxation issue until you truly become a resident of the U.S. or a green card holder. So it's at the point you receive, so you'll have your 526 approval, so you'll receive that approval, and then the time period when you pick up your visa is when taxation could potentially become an issue. But there's no real tax avoidance, there's no real, we don't know a secret sauce on the avoidance of the taxation or worldwide tax. Again, the U.S. wants to see that you're committed to becoming a citizen, or not necessarily a citizen, but a resident of the U.S. And as a result, they want you to comply with our tax code.
That's what is my question. That once you get green card,
Yes.
after that, what is the implication?
The implication is that you are taxed on worldwide income once you become a resident.
And you're subject to U.S. tax code.
But there are a couple of things that people do in terms of they choose the spouse to be the petitioner, in terms of they set up some trusts and migrate some of their assets to a child or whatever. But that is specific to the person that's making the investment, that tax requirement. So you would need to get some tax advice. But the actual tax requirement will not apply until you have your green card approved.
Yep. Thank you, Prakash and Ryan, for being with us. And I request Mr. Nimek Mashwana, our President, to kindly give you a memento thanking you for the session today. Thank you very much.